Yeah. So now let's return to from where we had started. Remember the first class where I had talked about the evolution of graph theory actually emerged from this topic, Königsberg bridge problem, right? So this was the first problem of graph theory, or which actually led to the birth of graph theory, the Königsberg bridge problem. So remember what was the Königsberg bridge problem? We had 4 land areas as you can see and 7 bridges. So the problem was as follows. As you know, what was the problem? The problem was this: starting at any land area, you start with any land area. Is it possible to walk across all the bridges exactly once and return to the starting land area? So the problem was, you start from any land area, you have to travel all the bridges exactly once and then again return to the original land area, right? That was the post problem. And you remember that the above problem can be reduced like this. So this dots represent the land area and this lines represent the graph or the edges or the bridges, right? So the dot represents the land area and this red lines denotes the bridges. So the above diagram can be drawn in this manner, simplified form. This is the simplified form. Now again, so this is what is called as a graph. This is a graph having 4 vertices and some edges, right? Now the question is to starting at any vertex. So what is the question now? Starting at any vertex, you have to travel, you have to find a circuit. Try to understand my point. What is the problem now? Let's recall the definition of circuit. What was the definition of circuit? It was a closed trail. It was a closed trail. That means repetition of edges is not allowed. And closed means, that means you will start from the vertex. You will end here if you are starting here, right? So now the question is, you have to find a closed trail consisting of all the edges of this graph. Did you get my point? So what is the Königsberg bridge problem reduced in terms of graph theory? The question is now to find a circuit. You know the definition of circuit, that consists of all the edges. Did you get my point? And circuit actually means repetition of edges is not allowed. So you have to find such a circuit here that does not that consists all the edges of this graph. That means you have to find a circuit of length 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have to find the circuit of length 7 in this graph. Did you understand up to here? So now try to understand my point. To solve the problem posed, which was the Königsberg bridge problem, has now been reduced into this problem. That means you have to find a circuit that consists of all the edges. Now we will give a very special name to this circuit. That means a circuit which consists all the edges of the graph will be given a very special name, and that name is Euler circuit. So what is a Euler circuit? A circuit that consists of all the edges of the graph. That means you have to find an Euler circuit in this graph, and let's write down the definition of Euler circuit. So let's define what we mean by an Euler circuit. So Euler circuit. So what is the definition of an Euler circuit? It is very simple. A circuit in a graph that includes all the edges of the graph is called an Euler circuit. So try to understand my point. What we mean by an Euler circuit? A circuit, that means what is the circuit? Repetition of edges is not allowed. Repetition of vertices is allowed. But what is an Euler circuit? A circuit that includes all the edges of the graph. So we'll call this circuit an Euler circuit. So remember, we defined Euler circuit just to solve the Königsberg bridge problem posed by Euler. So now the Königsberg bridge problem reduces to finding an Euler circuit. So remember, now the Königsberg bridge problem has been reduced to finding an Euler circuit in that graph, right? The graph made by Euler. So we'll take another definition. So another definition is Eulerian graph. So which graphs are called as Eulerian? Very simple. Which has Euler circuit. So graph is said to be an Eulerian graph. Either that is a trivial graph, that means consisting of only single vertex, where I cannot talk about Euler circuit, or any graph consisting an Euler circuit will be called an Eulerian graph. So a graph G is called Eulerian if either G is trivial, I'll tell you the meaning of this, or G has a Euler circuit. So what is meant by an Eulerian graph? See, when my graph is consist of a single vertex, there I cannot talk about Euler circuit. Or maybe you may think that V2V is a circuit, but there are no edges, by the way. So basically, we are calling this graph Eulerian by definition. That suppose this graph is again Eulerian. So if the graph is trivial, we'll call that graph an Eulerian. We are assuming that basically. Or otherwise, if the graph has more than one vertex, then I will call my graph an Eulerian graph if it has a Euler circuit. So if I can find a circuit that consists of all the edges in my graph, then such a circuit is called an Euler circuit, and such a graph is called as Eulerian graph. Did you get my point? So now the Königsberg bridge problem has been reduced to determine whether the Königsberg bridge problem is Eulerian or not. What I mean by this, so now the problem that we had posed here has been just reduced to this. Suppose I am calling this graph as G. So now the problem is what? Now the question is what? Is this graph G Eulerian? So the question is as simple as that. So the Königsberg problem has been now changed to a very simple question. A question of graph theory like that. If I call this graph as G, the simple question is this graph an Eulerian graph? So we will determine this a bit later to understand the problem. So what is the Königsberg bridge problem now? This good looking graph is Eulerian or not? If it is Eulerian, that means the answer to this question will be yes. If this graph is not Eulerian, then the answer to this question is no. As simple as that. So you see how a real life problem has been posed to a simple graph theory problem. Yeah, so the question is now about the Königsberg bridge problem is just to determine whether the graph G is Eulerian or not. So the topic that we are studying now, Euler circuit and Eulerian graph, was motivated by the Königsberg bridge problem, as simple as that. Okay, we are studying this just to get the answer to the Königsberg bridge problem. So before going further, let's see some examples of Eulerian graph and non-Eulerian graphs. So see this example, consider this graph G. I'm not taking the Königsberg bridge problem now. Let's take this graph G. Let's see whether this graph is Eulerian or not. So, let me call this vertices as V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. So how can I determine whether this graph is Eulerian or not? I have to find a circuit that consists of all the edges of this graph. So let's see whether it is possible to find a circuit or no. Suppose I start from here. So this edge has been covered. We reach here. Suppose I am taking this. This has been covered. All the edges must be covered. I am taking this. Then I am taking this. I am taking this. I am taking this. Vertex may be repeated, but the edges cannot be. I have reached here. You see, E1, E2. I took this as E3. Took this as E4. Take this as E5. E6, E7. You see this circuit V1, I travel from V1 to V2 via E1. So E1, V2, then E2, then V3. So this, and this, right? So E3, V5, then I came here, that is E6, V2. So how did I travel? This, then this. That means V2 to E5. So see this, E5 to V4, and then E4 to V5 to V1. So see, this is an Euler circuit. You could have started from V2 also, doesn't matter. Okay, you can start with any vertex. You have to find such a circuit that consists of all the edges. The vertices may be repeated, but the edges cannot be repeated. So this is an Euler circuit in G, and hence G is Eulerian. So the graph that I have drawn above is an Eulerian graph. Hence G is Eulerian graph. Did you get my point? So let's take another example. Let's take example number 2 here. Suppose I have this. This is the multigraph. That means it has parallel edges. Looks like a flower, no? So is this flower looking graph H an Eulerian graph? What do you feel? Again, it has 5 vertices. 3, 4, 5. So is this graph Eulerian? If you check, it is again Eulerian, right? Yes, you see? That means the question is, you have to draw this figure without picking up your pen. And you cannot retrace any line. That means you will go like this, 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 like this. So clearly, H is Eulerian. So how to justify why H is Eulerian? You have to present an Euler circuit in H. So you can find Euler circuit if you name the edges E1, E2, E3, E4, E5, E6, E7, E8, and you can write a circuit in this manner and can hence prove it. So why can you write a graph as Eulerian? If you are writing a graph as this graph is Eulerian, you have to present an Euler circuit. If you can present an Euler circuit, then you can clearly say that your graph is an Eulerian graph. So again we have the same question. Is the graph G posed in the beginning of the chapter, that is the Königsberg bridge problem. So is that graph Eulerian? So it is not easy to determine. You can try with so many things, but you will see it is not easy to determine whether it is Eulerian or no. So we have a theorem, or we have a result that is true for Eulerian graph. So let's see what is that theorem. You notice one thing here, both the graphs that I have drawn here, right, they both have all even degree vortices. One thing you notice here, degree of V1 is 2, even number, degree of V2 is 4, even number, degree of V3 is 2, even number, degree of V4 is even number, degree of V5 is 4, which is again an even number. Degree of V2 is even because degree is 2, degree is 2, degree is 2, degree is 2, degree is 8, even. So one thing you notice, both the graphs that I have drawn here, G and H, both are Eulerian, and what we notice here, that the degree of every vortex is an even number. Is it true in general? The answer is yes. So that is your next theorem. For an Eulerian graph, every vortex has even degree. So let's do this theorem next. So the theorem is this. If a connected graph G is Eulerian, so I'm assuming that G is Eulerian, then every vortex of G has even degree. So this will answer our problem of this one, Königsberg bridge problem. Let's see how. So you see, this is known as the necessary condition to be Eulerian. What I am saying, if my graph is Eulerian, so I am assuming that my graph is Eulerian, then what is the guarantee? Every vortex has even degree. So this is known as the necessary condition to be an Eulerian. So the proof goes like this. The proof is simple. So what is the hypothesis? We are assuming that G is Eulerian. We are assuming that G is Eulerian. Keep that in mind. Okay. So suppose that G is Eulerian. So I am assuming my graph G is Eulerian graph. That is the hypothesis. I want to prove that every vortex of G has even degree. I want to prove that every vortex of G has even degree. So we'll prove that, don't worry. So let's see that. Let's start with this one. We'll start with a trivial case. First, suppose that G is a trivial graph. You know, every trivial graph is Eulerian. So G is a trivial graph. That means G is just this. And it has only one vortex and no edges. So what is the vortex of this? What is the degree of this vortex? It is 0, which is an even number. Okay. So first, suppose that G is trivial. Then G has only one vortex. That is the meaning of a trivial graph. And no edges. Hence, one vortex, suppose I name that vortex as V, one vortex V. Hence, degree of V is 0, which is even. So we are done. So if my graph is a trivial graph, then I will only have one vortex whose degree is 0, which is even. We are done with this case. So we are done with the proof when I am assuming that my graph is a trivial graph. So let's do the proof for a non-trivial graph. That means suppose G has more than one vortex. More than one vortex. That means I'm talking about a non-trivial graph. Suppose G has more than one vortex. Now let's use the condition given. What is condition given? G is Eulerian. When is G Eulerian? When you can find an Euler circuit in G. So I can also find an Euler circuit in G because G is Eulerian. So let me write it down. Because G is Eulerian according to the hypothesis, okay, G has some Euler circuit. G has there can be many Euler circuits, may not be unique. So G has a Euler circuit. So suppose one Euler circuit you take like this. So say G has this Euler circuit. Which Euler circuit? This. I'm calling this Euler circuit as C. Suppose I start with some vortex V1 and V1, E1, V2, E2, dot dot dot, En minus 1, and then the last vortex Vn, and Vn will be same as V1. That you should know because we are talking about a circuit. I will start with V1 and I'll end at V1. So I know because G is Eulerian, I will go something like this, something like this, something like this. Anyways, I'm just drawing like this, dot dot dot, like this, and we reach here. So this is my E1, this is my E2, this is my E3, and this is E4, this is V1, V2, V3, V4, dot dot dot, and again this is same as Vn. Vn is same as V1. Am I clear up to here? So try to understand my point. G has more than one vortex. That means the graph G is non-trivial. Because G is Eulerian, then G has Euler circuit, right? Not all. G has an Euler circuit. Say this is an Euler circuit. Now remember the definition of an Euler circuit. That means this circuit C will consist of all the edges in G. So keep that in mind. All the edges that are present in G are also present here, and obviously all the vertices will also be present here, because if all the edges are present, so the end points of these edges, which are vertices, will also be present. That means this C consists of all the edges as well as all the vertices of the graph G. Edges are unique, but the vertices may be repeated. So that is my point. This is exactly what I will write it down now. Okay. So say this is an Euler circuit from a vortex V1 to Vn. And what is Vn? Vn is same as V1. So we are starting at V1 and ending at V1. Keep that in mind. So this is the definition of an Euler circuit. And just by definition, what we are getting? Now, C contains all the edges and vertices. C contains all the edges and vertices of the graph G. So this is by definition of an Euler circuit. It comprises of all the edges of the graph, and because if all the edges are present, all the vertices must be present. Okay, and you know that edges should not be repeated, but the vertices may be repeated. Okay, so I should also write this. However, there are no repeated edges in C, though in C a vertex may appear more than once. So this is what we know about C. This is we know about C. So C consists of all the edges and exactly once, all the edges exactly once, but a vertex may be repeated more number of times, may not be always one. Understand the idea of the proof. I am assuming that the graph is Eulerian. Okay, good enough. Okay, and what? So I have assumed that my graph is Eulerian. If it is Eulerian, there will be some Euler circuit. This C is the Euler circuit, and we know this fact about C. Now what we have to prove? What we have to prove? Every vertex of G has even degree. So what I will do? I will pick up any arbitrary vertex of G. You pick up any arbitrary vertex of G, I will prove that that vertex has even degree. So let's pick up any arbitrary vertex of the graph G. I don't know, like this is just a rough figure. My graph may not look like this. Anyways, I'm just taking the help of this. So what I have to prove? Every vertex of G is of even degree. What I will do? I will pick any arbitrary vertex here. Okay. Suppose I am naming that vertex as U. Suppose I am naming that vertex as U. Right. So I will prove that degree of U is even, and that will complete the proof. So let's pick up one vertex, any arbitrary vertex U. So because the graph, so U will definitely appear here, as simple as that, due to obvious reason, because my graph is a connected graph. So if I pick any vertex U, so that is not an isolated vertex because the graph is connected. So that U will appear in this circuit. So let me write all those things. So let U be a vertex of G. So I am taking any vertex of G. I will prove that degree of U is an even number. Then U is a member of the Euler circuit C. Why? Again I am repeating, because the graph G is connected, so no vertex can be isolated. So this is not an isolated vertex. This is not an isolated vertex. This has at least degree 1. So this is the end of one vertex. This is the end point of one edge. This is the end point of one edge. That means this edge is there in the circuit C, and hence this vertex will also be there in the circuit C. So let U be a vertex of G, then U is a member of C. Now we will do in two cases. So U is a member of C. So try to understand my point again and again. U is a member of C. So U can be V1, U can be V2, U can be V3, U can be V4, U can be Vn. So let's suppose that U is either the first one or the last one, which are same. So let's suppose that U is V1. Let's suppose that what happens, U is same as V1. See, U must be one of them. U will be either V1 or V2 or V3 and so on. So let's suppose that U is V1. So suppose U is V1. Suppose U is V1. So yes, as you can see in the diagram, so try to understand my point. Suppose U is V1. Let us say that let us say that, that is not, say that, hold on, let me write it down. This is the first appearance of U in C. So definitely this is very true, no need to write. U is the first vortex. U is the first vortex of that Euler circuit C. So let us say that this is the first appearance of U in C. This was actually not like, this is obviously true, no? Because that is the first vortex, first appearance of U in C. That is the first one, right? Now, try to understand my point. Now, U is also Vn. That is very obvious because the first vortex and the last vortex are same. So because U is same as the first vortex, U is also same as the last vortex. Okay? And we say that Vn is the last appearance of U in C. So my point is this, I am assuming that suppose U is same as V1, then it is the first appearance of U, right? And because the last vortex is same as the first one, so U is also this, and we say that U is the, Vn is the last appearance of U. So U appears here, U appears here. Now try to understand my point. So this is U, okay? So from here only you understand. So this, due to this edge E1, 1 will be contributed here due to the presence of this edge E1. You see, this is V1 and I have this edge E1. So E1 contributes 1 to the degree of V1. E1 contributes 1 to the degree of V1. And this vortex, this edge En minus 1, this also contributes 1 to the degree of Vn. And Vn is same as V1. Right? So this contributes 1 and this contributes 1 to the degree of Vn and V1. Let's write that down and let's see what is the advantage of that. For each of these two appearances of U in C, the edges E1 and En minus 1 together contribute 2 to the degree of U. Did you got my point or no? So you try to understand my point. When U is the starting vortex, of the circuit, then its degree is 2, or basically every edge that is present in the beginning, not exactly degree is 2, degree will always be an even number because it is always the first appearance and the last appearance. Due to the first and the last appearance, there will be 2 edges that will contribute 2 to the degree. One will be contributed by this edge, one will be contributed by this edge. So in that case, the degree of U is even. So now let's consider the case when U is the middle vortex. That means except the first and the last one, U appears somewhere in the middle. Let's assume that U appears somewhere in the middle. So let's see what happens. So suppose now Suppose now U is Vj in C. What is this Vj? For some 1 less than j less than n. That means u is same as either u1, u is same as either v1, sorry, u is same as either v2 or v3 or dot 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 vn minus 1. So u is one of them, not the starting or the end vertex. It is same as, now you suppose that it appears somewhere in the middle, not in the starting, not in the end. We are assuming that it appears somewhere in the middle. It appears somewhere in the middle. Okay. Then try to understand my point. So try to understand my point. Hold on, okay. There is someone who's calling me again. Okay, sorry. So try to understand my point. Suppose this vertex Vj is u. So what is the preceding edge? It is Ej minus 1. And which is the next edge? It is Ej plus 1. Did you understand why? If you did not, you see here. If that is the middle vertex, suppose u is same as v2. U is same as v2. Then you see v2 is linked to e2 and v2 is also linked to e1. If I have something v3 here, then I have e3 here. That means v3 is linked to e3 and v3 is linked to e2. Right? So what is my point? If it is the middle vertex, it will be linked to two edges, this and this. Sorry, Ej and Ej minus 1. Ej and Ej minus 1. So let me write it down. Then U is an n vertex of the edges Ej minus 1 and Ej. Stop. Did you understand this line or no? Please ask if you are not understanding. What we understood, whenever u is the middle vertex somewhere in C, then u is the n vertex of two edges. U is the n vertex of two edges, and hence this 2 will contribute again 2 to the degree of u. So these edges contribute 2 to the degree of u. See, I am not saying that degree of u is 2. U may be repeated twice. So u is appearing here and u is also appearing here. Suppose here. Then these two edges will contribute 2. These two edges will contribute 2. That means degree will be 4. So my point is they are always contributing an even number, and that means the degree is always going to be even. So suppose u is appearing, u is this and u is this, suppose. So due to this edges it has contributed 2, due to this it has contributed 2. So that is my point. So these edges contribute 2 to the degree of u. Right? It follows that. So from this and from this, what we are seeing, even if u is the n vertex, the edges will always contribute 2, and if it is the middle vertex, the edges will always contribute 2. So in any case, it now follows that degree of any vortex is in G is even. And this completes the proof. Did you understand? So let's move forward. So What does this theorem said? That G is Eulerian implies degree of any vortex is even. So this was the conclusion from this theorem, and obviously G is connected, that I am assuming, because if it is disconnected we don't talk about Euler circuit, that will exclude that one, no? So G is Eulerian. If G is Eulerian, then degree of any vortex is even. So what is the contrapositive of this one? Contrapositive. Can you tell me what is the contrapositive of this statement? We have done contrapositive in this one, logics. Can you tell me what is the contrapositive of this statement? P implies Q. P implies Q. What is the contrapositive of this? Acha, see here.
If degree of any vortex is not even, then G is not relative.
Very good, very good. The contrapositive of this statement is this. Negation Q implies negation P. You always remember, this is a very important thing from logic. This is used in every subject, whatever you study, in analysis, in any course. So P implies Q. So what is the contrapositive? If degree, so if this does not hold, what is the contrapositive? So this is P, this is Q. So negation Q implies negation P. So negation of this is degree of any vortex is even. So if degree of some vortex is odd, if degree of not any, so any reduces to some, if degree of some vortex is odd, that implies G is not Eulerian. So this will be very much essential. So the contrapositive thing or contrapositive statement of the previous theorem will be very much essential. We will see why. So let's now recall the Königsberg bridge problem. So let's recall the Königsberg bridge problem or seven bridge problem. So what was the graph? The graph was something like this. So this is the Königsberg bridge problem. Now you tell me, can this graph be an Eulerian graph? Can this graph be an Eulerian graph? Tell me. No, yes. So use this one. As you can see, degree of V1 is odd. So any one will do. You see, degree of every vortex is odd, but you just take one. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So degree, since degree of V1 is odd, so therefore G is not Eulerian. So we have answered the Königsberg bridge problem. We have answered the Königsberg bridge problem. That means if I have some vortex whose degree is odd, then my graph cannot be an Eulerian graph. So because I can see in the Königsberg bridge problem, I can find a vortex whose degree is odd, my Königsberg bridge problem cannot be solved. That means one cannot start at any vortex and cover all the edges and return to the same vortex. That means the answer to the Königsberg bridge problem is a big no, because the graph is not Eulerian. So it is not possible to find a Euler circuit that consists of all the edges in the graph G. So this is really interesting, right? So all the way around we studied just to answer this problem. For studying the Königsberg bridge problem, we talked about the degree, we talked about trails, circuits, all those things. And then with those concepts, we are now able to answer the Königsberg bridge problem, maybe after 12, 13 classes. So did you understand or no? So if you see, uh, any graph, so just by looking at the graph you can tell me that that graph is Eulerian or not Eulerian. Oh, sorry, you can just tell me not Eulerian, by the way, because till now I haven't talked about the converse. So if my graph has some degree, say some vertex having the odd degree, that means my graph is not Eulerian. Now you might argue about the converse. That means, is the converse true? If this happens, then will this happen? See, I did not tell you that. See, this theorem will not give you the answer of this question. What I am saying, degree of every vortex is even. So till now I did not tell you that the converse of that theorem is true. So you are seeing the degree of every vortex is even. That means this will be Eulerian. The answer is no till now because I did not talk about the converse of that theorem. Now I will tell you the converse of that theorem. The next theorem is the converse of this theorem is also true. The converse of this theorem is also true. That means the next theorem is this. So you see, I have got a necessary and sufficient condition to be Eulerian. So what is the theorem? Let G be a graph, or let G be a connected graph. Connected is definitely important while studying Eulerian graph. Okay. Let G be a connected graph such that every vortex of G is of even degree. Full stop. Then G is Eulerian. So you see, I have a necessary and sufficient condition to be Eulerian. I will not do the proof of this theorem. I am skipping the proof for the time being because the proof is extremely big. That will take around 3 to 4 pages to prove it, or not less than 3 pages for sure. So again I am saying you time is limited for us. So if I get time, I will again show you the proof of this theorem. So for the timing, it will not be possible for me to do the proof because still many topics are remaining. Okay, so definitely you can also go through the proof by yourself. If you are facing some problem, please ask me. Seeing the proof is definitely very important, but for the timing I will not be able to show you the proof because time is definitely limited to us. So maybe we'll do some, if I get time I'll do the proof because I have to do so many topics. So am I clear up to this one? So I have a necessary and a sufficient condition to be Eulerian. A graph is Eulerian if and only if degree of every vortex is even. So I have a if and only if condition. Okay. So the simple thing is, the result is this. So from the previous two theorems, what I have obtained, a connected graph G is Eulerian if and only if. So both ways is correct. Degree of every vortex in G is even. So this is a necessary as well as a sufficient condition to determine a graph is Eulerian or not. Now just by looking at the graph, you can conclude that whether your graph is Eulerian or not Eulerian. What you will do, what is the technique that you will use? You will write down the degree of all the vortices. If all are even, you simply conclude that the graph is Eulerian. If any one of them is odd, you conclude that it is not Eulerian. It is not Eulerian. So let's see, let me draw some graphs. I'm just drawing randomly. Is this graph an Eulerian graph? Is this graph an Eulerian graph? There are 4 vertices. So what you will do, just by looking at the graph, you can tell you. Yes, the answer is no. Let's write down the degree sequence. Degree sequence is 3, 3, 4, 4. I can see odd degree vertices. So the answer is the graph is not Eulerian. Just by looking at the graph, you can now answer whether it is Eulerian or not. Let me take another example. Is this graph an Eulerian graph? Yes, because degree sequence is 2, 2, 4. Always write the degree sequence in increasing order. So you can just write down this is the degree sequence. I'm not writing all those things. So the graph is Eulerian. So keep this in mind. This theorem tells you whether a graph is Eulerian or not just by looking at the graph or just by counting the degrees. Okay, but it does not gives you a way to determine the Euler circuit. The theorem is just giving you the answer. Okay, this is an Eulerian graph, this is not an Eulerian graph. But if this is an Eulerian graph, you should be able to find an Euler circuit. But this theorem does not gives you a way to find an Euler circuit. So how to find the Euler circuit, that we'll do in the next class. One more minute, please. So am I clear up to here? Any confusion, any queries? Feel free to ask. One last thing I forgot how to conclude. So just by looking at the graph, we can tell whether the graph is Eulerian or not. And second thing, this theorem will only give you the answer whether the graph is Eulerian or not, but it will not give you the Euler circuit. It will not give you a method to find the Euler circuit. Okay? Or another way of asking this question is, I may ask you the question, can you draw this graph without picking up your pen and you have to return to the original vertex from where you started? The answer is yes, because the graph is Eulerian. So the childhood game that we used to play, that we have to draw these figures without picking up your pen and returning to the same vertex, and the problem is now a very simple problem, that you have to first determine whether the graph is Eulerian or not. If the graph is Eulerian, it is possible to draw that graph without picking up your pen. If the graph is not Eulerian, you cannot draw this figure without picking up your pen. See, I can draw this figure without picking up my pen. I can draw like this, I can draw like this, I can draw like this, I can return here. So this graph is an Eulerian graph, and I am giving one more condition, that you have to end from where you started. But I cannot draw this figure without picking up my pen. Let's see. Can we draw it? And I have to return to the same vertex. Keep that in mind. Yes, but I did not cover this edge. So it is not possible actually, because the graph is not available. So I will end my topic here. So that's all for today. Rajkamal, you just wait, I will clear your doubt.